What is going on, everybody? It is Josh, Old School Cards here, and we are back with episode number 18 of the Old School Cards podcast. I'm calling this one the Ovechkin episode because we have a ton of OV to talk about in this episode. So I'm glad you're here, and we're going to give you the rundown real quick. So this is the show lineup for episode 18. Market thoughts. We'll be talking long-term OV collecting. Number 2, 600 goal scorer history. Today it is Mario Lemieux. Number 3, blue liner of the week. And we have this week Cale Makar and Cam Fowler we'll be talking about. Our top line, or on a heater line, David Pastrnak, Morgan Geekie, and Robert Thomas. Our poke check portion of the show will be Darcy Kemper. And then we'll move into the milestone marker, and we're going to talk about goal number 895 with Alex Ovechkin. Then we're going to continue the Chasing Greatness segment, except for because everybody knows that Ovechkin set the goal record, instead of him being behind, we're going to continue it until he retires, and it will be ahead. We'll be going ahead. How many ahead is he? And last but not least, episode 18 will be personal pickups. So let's move right in to the first segment, and it is market thoughts, and that is Ovechkin diving on the ice after his 895th goal. And one thing I can say is, because I track young guns and lots of rookie cards, I'm a rookie card collector. I can tell you for a fact that I could have purchased an Alex Ovechkin PSA 9 for under $2,000 prior to the season. And right now, his prices are really high. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I do not know when I will be collecting an Alex Ovechkin Young Guns card, because I'm going to wait and see what the market does. Because obviously right now, he just set the record. Everything he does is going to continue to drive that up. So there's a lot of hype around him right now. But I do believe that eventually his market will come back down, and that's probably will be when I purchase one of his cards. But I'm not buying in on the hype. I am going to get an Ovechkin card at some point. I collect 600 goal scorers, so I have to have him. He's the top goal scorer in the NHL now. But I think we're going to ride a little wave. They're going into the playoffs. Prices are going to spike for that. I think they'll go down over the summer, but it really also depends on, he has 1 year left on his contract, and I'm not sure if he is going to fulfill that one more year and build on that goal record, or if he's going to announce his retirement now that he has the goal record. So it's going to be interesting to see, but my projection is that we're going to continue to see short-term spikes. If they go, the further they go into the playoffs, the prices will go up, and hopefully they'll cool off a little bit over the summer. And then depending on what he decides to do next year, will probably be a determining factor on his Young Gun rookie card. But as it is right now, I'm probably going to end up having to pick his card up in a 7 or an 8, because I just can't justify paying $5,000-$6,000 for that card in a higher grade. And that's kind of where that thing is trending. So that's our market thoughts segment, and we will move into the Next segment, uh, 600 goal scorer history, Mario Lemieux. And this is one I wanted to be talking about for quite some time, but I also wanted to wait till I had his rookie card in hand or in my collection. That's kind of what I'm doing with these 600 goal scorers. As I collect them, I add them to the list to be able to talk about them on 600 goal scorer history. And Mario Lemieux is a very deserving Hall of Famer, and I'm so glad he's on this list because I do want to talk about him. So Lemieux scored his 600th goal on February 4th, 1997. At the time, he was the seventh player in NHL history to score 600 goals. And like many others, they won that game 6-4 over the Vancouver Canucks. He was playing obviously for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He was a 1997 Hall of Fame inductee into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Lemieux, if you're a hockey fan, you know he had major medical issues that hindered his career, and it's a reflection in what's really impressive about Lemieux is that he scored over 600 goals in just 915 games in the NHL. And at the time he retired due to medical issues, he was inducted to the Hall of Fame. And then he became one of only 3 NHL players to come back and play after he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. He really tried to come back and push and continue to play because he's passionate. He loves the game, and you got to love the grit and determination out of a person like that. Like cancer and all these other things cannot stop him from pushing himself to try and keep coming back. But one of 3 players who came and played back in the NHL after his Hall of Fame induction, one of 3. He's a 1984 first overall pick by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And like I said before, 915 games played, 690 goals. That's basically 2 out of every 3 games he's scoring a goal, a little bit more than that. He had 1,033 assists in his career for a total of 1,723 points, which gave him a plus-minus rating of plus 114 in his career. Speaking of his career, he played parts of 17 seasons. He's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, a 6-time Art Ross Trophy winner. He won the Calder Trophy as a rookie, 2-time Conn Smythe winner, a 3 times Hart Trophy winner, and he's the first person of the 600 goal scorers on the podcast. He is the highest point total player for a season. So in 1988-1989, Lemieux scored 85 goals, and he coupled that with 114 assists for a total of 199 points. That's by far the most or best season that I've discussed out of any of the 600 goal scorers on the podcast. Some more accolades. 11 times he scored 30 goals. 10 times he scored 40 goals. 6 times he scored 50 goals. 4 times he scored 60 goals. 2 times he scored 70 goals. And he had one 80-goal season, that 88-89. And 10 times he had over 100 points. So 10 out of his 17 years, he put up 100 points. He's 11th all-time on the goal-scoring list now, 13th all-time in assists. And when you combine his goals and assists and points, he's top 10 all-time, number 8 in the all-time points category. Lemieux has been just a phenomenal player, and I'm lucky enough to be able to say that I've seen so many great players across all sports in my lifetime. But he was so talented and so good that even being a boy from Southern California, one of my very good friends that I grew up with has been a Penguins fan because we were born in the 80s. So he lived out his career watching Mario Lemieux, and I can easily see why he's a Penguins fan to this day. Now let's get to talk about his key card. I went with the 1985 Topps card number 9. PSA 10 last sale was October 17th, 2024, and it sold for $9,833. His raw card last sold on April 3rd, 2025 for $165, and he has 7,345 cards graded at PSA. Only 79 of those are PSA 10s, and 1,181 of those are PSA 9s for a gem rate of 1.1%. Now that we talked a little bit about our 600 goal scorer history, here's another little graphic to throw up. Just his stat line, a couple highlights from his career, and he just a phenomenal player, and I wish he could have played longer because he would have, he was special, but it would have been even more special. But I think the limited time we got to see him really shows what a special player Mario Lemieux was. Now we get to move into the next segment of the show, Blue Liner of the Week. And we are talking Cale Makar again, and a newcomer, Cam Fowler, former Duck, played his 1,000th game, however, with the St. Louis Blues. If you watched the previous episodes or listened to them, we talked about his 1,000th game earlier this year. So we're going to start with our number 2, which is Cam Fowler. Cam Fowler. He's our number 2 blue liner of the week. He plays for the St. Louis Blues. He's a 2010 draft pick of the Anaheim Ducks. He was drafted in the first round, and he was taken 12th overall. Very highly touted person coming into the league. This week, he had 1 goal, 5 assists for 6 points. He was credited with 2 hits and 2 blocked shots, with a time on ice of 21 minutes and 31 seconds. Cam Fowler's Young Guns card is 2010 Upper Deck Series 1, card number 201. His PSA 10 average over the last 90 days is $42.01 with 1 sale. Only 1 sale. That's crazy. 1 sale over the last 90 days. And the last sale was on March 30th, 2025 for that 4201 because it's a 90-day average and there's only 1. When we're looking at his cards at PSA, he's only got 63 of his Young Gun cards graded at PSA. 47 of those are PSA 10s and 12 of those are PSA 9s. One of the first people I've ever seen that have way more PSA 10s than PSA 9s, and his gem rate is 74.6%. So if you got a Cam Fowler Young Guns laying around, high probability that it is in fact a gem. 73 out of 4 of his cards are gonna gem. There's a small sample size, but still 47 to 12, high probability that you are going to get yourself a PSA 10. And once again, our number 1 blue liner of the week, none other than Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche. Needs very little introduction because he shows up on this podcast quite often. 2017 draft pick of the Colorado Avalanche. First round, fourth overall, very highly touted prospect, and he has been putting up Hall of Fame numbers ever since he's been in the league. This week, he had 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points, credited with 2 hits, 9 blocked shots, and his ice time, 26 minutes and 49 seconds per game. That's a lot. 2019 Upper Deck Series 2, card number 493. The PSA average over the last 90 days, PSA 10 average, $501 with 58 sales over the last 90. Last sale was $490 on, I believe when I pulled these up, it was on April 6th for $490. He has 4,719 cards graded at PSA. 2,926 of those cards are PSA 10s. 1,514 of those are PSA 9s. So Cale Makar's Young Guns card is a 62% Jimmer. Very, very good. They're getting ready to go into the playoffs, and it looks like they're going to play the Dallas Stars. So that should be a really good first-round matchup, but that's what playoff hockey is all about because we like it that way. Now we are going to move into the next segment of the show, the top line of the week or best line of the week, our On a Heater segment. This week we have one returner from last week and oddly enough, 2 Boston Bruins who are not going to make the playoffs for the first time in a long time. So we are going to talk about them in reverse order. So it is the returner, Robert Thomas from the St. Louis Blues from last week. He's back on the list again this week. He is having a very good end to his season. This week he had 2 goals, 5 assists for 7 points, plus-minus rating of +2. He is a 2017 draft pick by the St. Louis Blues, and he was taken in the first round, 20th overall. So he is still playing for his team that drafted him. We can recap his Young Guns card, 2018 Upper Deck Series 2, card number 472. A PSA 10 average, $48.54 with 13 sales in the last 90 days. Last one, March 27th for $47.35, so right about the going rate. He currently has 510 cards graded at PSA. 333 of those are 10s, 148 of those are 9s, and his gem rate is about 65.3%. So this is what we're looking at here, some numbers for him. Put that up there for you guys to see. I hope you guys like the new layout. I reached out to the guys at Hockey Cards Gong Show and requested some information about how they do their stuff, and I'm liking the new layout. Next up in our top line of the week is Mr. Morgan Geekie of the Boston Bruins. Morgan Geekie, first time on the Old School Cards podcast. He is a 2017 draft pick by the Carolina Hurricanes. He was taken in the 3rd round with the 67th overall pick. Well, he had a good week this week. 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points with a plus-minus of +3. He's playing very well, even though they completely deconstructed that team to rebuild mode. He's a 2020 Upper Deck Series 1, card number 210. His PSA 10 only goes for about $30 on average, and there were 2 sales over the last 90 days. The last one being on March 1st, 2025 for $30. He has 114 cards graded at PSA. 58 of those are PSA 10s, and 49 of them are PSA 9s with a 50.9% gem rate. Now, the superstar of this line for this week, also a Boston Bruin, David Pastrnak. He also had 8 points this week, 5 goals, 3 assists, and a plus-minus rating of 3. David Pastrnak is a 2014 draft pick of the Boston Bruins. He was taken in the first round with the 25th overall pick. His Young Guns card, sorry, I'm playing producer and doing this. Young Guns card, a little more pricey. It is a 2014 Upper Deck Series 2, card number 495. PSA 10 average, $722 with 3 sales in the last 90 days. Last sale, March 31st, 2025 for $725. So right at about the average. He has 665 cards graded at PSA. 240 of those cards are PSA 10s, while 303 of those cards are PSA 9s, giving him a gem rate of 36.1%. Kind of cool. Get to talk about Pastrnak. Haven't talked about him on the show recently or at all ever. I don't think. I'm not a Boston Bruins fan, so they did keep him around, and he is playing well along with good old Morgan Geekie out there. Now we are going to move in to the next segment of the show, Poke Check. This is our top goalie of the week. And one thing that I have found about doing this podcast and including more than just blue liners, it's really cool showcasing new players, new cards, guys that maybe wouldn't get flowers outside of having a great week in the season. Darcy Kuemper really fits that mold of the Los Angeles Kings, but he did have a great. Something else very cool about this week was finding his rookie card, and you guys will see why here in a second. But let's talk a little bit about Darcy Kuemper, the journeyman goalie from the LA Kings, 2009 draft pick, 6th round, 161st overall pick by the Minnesota Wild. But this week, he was a shining star. Boom. And that is not a Young Guns. Why? Because Darcy Kuemper does not have a Young Guns card. That is a 2013-2014 Panini Prism Silver. So the first year that Panini did their Prism release of hockey happens to be the rookie year of Darcy Kuemper. And this is going to be the rookie card you're going to want to get if you're looking for Darcy Kuemper cards. Had a really good week. He went 3-0 with a goals against average of 1 and a save percentage of .961, making 74 saves this week. This card that you're seeing on screen, like I said, 2013-2014 Panini Prism Rookie Silver, card number 248 from that set. And it goes for about $5. $5 Darcy Kuemper right there. He has 13 of these cards graded at PSA. 12 of them are 10s. One of them's a 9, and it's about a $5 card. So he has a gem rate of 92.3%. Now we get to move in to the next portion of our show. This is the reason why we are calling this the Ovechkin episode. The moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. The milestone marker portion of the show. Alex Ovechkin scored goal number 895 in his career, surpassing the great one, Wayne Gretzky, at 894. He tied him earlier in the week and then passed him on April 6, 2025, against the New York Islanders with Ilya Sorokin in net. Fun fact about that was until Ovechkin scored 895 against Sorokin, he had never scored on Sorokin. As a matter of fact, if you've been following social media or news outlets on this case, or it's not a case, but on this achievement, this milestone for Ovechkin, Budweiser put out a thing where they made custom cans for goalies that faced Alex Ovechkin in the NHL who did not allow a goal to him. And I believe there was like less than 20 goalies who have faced Alex Ovechkin that he hasn't scored on, but they sent them a custom can of Budweiser with the record on there and showing how many shots that Ovechkin took on them and the fact that he did not score a goal. So they celebrated the milestone in another way. They gave Ovi his credit, but they also celebrated all the goalies that he's faced that did not give up a goal. Some other interesting things about this milestone, and it's so crazy. Wayne Gretzky scored goal 894, and he scored that goal in his 1,487th game. Alex Ovechkin scored goal number 894 in 1,486 games, and in his 1,487th game, he scored 895. So they were literally goal for goal in their games throughout their career. They both arrived at almost the identical number, which is close to 1,000 at the same time. That's crazy. A crazy stat. Some other things, since we're talking about milestones and we're talking about Ovi. He's now first all-time, obviously, in goals scored. His 724 assists, though, put him down at 56th all-time on the assist list. His 1,619 points make him 11th all-time in the points category. And then he has 65 goals, empty net, first all-time in the NHL. 325 power play goals, which make it first all-time in the NHL. 136 game-winning goals, first all-time in the NHL. And 27 overtime goals, first all-time in the NHL. So that trapezoid behind the net, behind the goalkeeper, behind the net, that was known as Gretzky's office. And Alex Ovechkin has been such a prolific winger in his career that just above the dot in the faceoff circle on the left wing side is known as Ovechkin's office. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he plays left wing, the fact that he sets up there. He basically builds a tent and sends up smoke signals on the power play, and he just hunts goals from that spot, which is why he's first all-time in power play goals. He just has a one-timer. It's so crazy how he's been able to be so consistent for so long doing those things from the same spot. And to have a portion of ice named that's your office, I think is pretty cool. Congratulations, Alex Ovechkin. I know that this record was sacred to him. We got a little glimpse of that when in the previous game he had 2 goals to tie Gretzky's record. He was given the opportunity to go on the ice for an empty net goal at the end of the game when the Capitals were winning, and Ovechkin refused. He refused to go out there to get a hat trick and the goal record because he wanted a goalie in net when he scored the record-breaking goal. There's a documentary on ESPN Plus called Greatness, and it was talking to Ovechkin a few years ago, and he himself said that he didn't believe that the Gretzky goal record would ever fall, let alone himself be the one to do it. And he holds Wayne Gretzky in such high regard that one time he asked Gretzky for a hockey stick, and Gretzky told him when he scored goal number 800 that he would give him a hockey stick. And when he did, Gretzky stayed true to his word and sent him a hockey stick. One thing you do learn about Ovechkin is that he also is a big-time collector of memorabilia. So he has a room in his house with all these different milestones in his career. And when he travels places where Gretzky played, he will go into the shop at the rink and purchase Wayne Gretzky items, especially if they have any significance. So he holds that record in high regard, and I'm just happy for him. It's another piece of history that we all get to see, the way he revered Wayne Gretzky and the way he treated the record. Just super gracious. He's a pure goal scorer. I mean, Gretzky is the only guy in the NHL with over 2,000 points. That record may never get touched, but this is an accomplishment that I'm 42 years old. I can pretty much guarantee I don't think we'll ever see it again, especially if he does come back and play out his last year on his contract. He could easily go put out 30 goals, 40 goals next year, and this record ends up at 925, 930, something insane. It's going to be hard for somebody. I'm fairly confident now that we may never see it again in our lifetime, somebody breaking this record. So very special. I was alive I remember when Gretzky broke Howe's record, and now Ovechkin breaks Gretzky's. And, you know, Gretzky himself said that records were meant to be broken. It's just cool. It's a cool thing. I was watching the game. I probably saw Ovi's last 10 goals, just putting those memories in my memory bank to talk to my kids or my grandkids later about how I saw this happen. I've been so fortunate, so blessed in my life to be able to see so many cool things in sports. And sometimes things happen that you don't know are going to be significant. And one of those things, I know this is a hockey podcast, but when I was like 8, 9 years old, my uncle, I was like his little buddy, and he was like, hey, let's go watch Nolan Ryan pitch. And I lived in Southern California, so we went to Angel Stadium. We watched Nolan Ryan pitch. And so he's pitching, he's doing his thing, strikes the guy out, does his stuff, comes off the mound. After the 5th inning, he doesn't go back in the game. And no big deal, whatever. Nolan Ryan at the end of his career, okay. Well, then all these years later, I'm doing some research on different things, and the Netflix special Facing Nolan comes on, and it's showing him strike this guy out in the 5th inning at Anaheim Stadium. And it dawns on me that was literally the game where Nolan Ryan blew his arm out. He tried to go out and pitch a couple more times, and he couldn't do it. So he retired, and he never struck another guy out. So here I am, 8, 9 years old, sitting with my uncle at Anaheim Stadium, getting to watch Nolan Ryan pitch, not even knowing that we just watched him record his last strikeout. But it was cool nonetheless because I got to see him play. Things like that. I'm sitting here in Texas, and I'm watching Ovechkin score score the goal that breaks the record, and it happened so fast. I mean, they pushed that puck up ice, and he's there, and it was bam, bam, and the puck's in the back of the net because he's in his office. He fires a one-timer, and there it goes. So really cool, really cool. Let's talk about his card a little bit. I talked about it a little bit earlier in Market Watch, but here's the hard numbers right now. And this is as of like April 6th, so I haven't looked since then. PSA 10 currently averaging $4,913 with 62 sales over the last 90 days. It's an 05 Upper Deck Series 2, card number 443, and on April 5th was the last sale for $4,825 PSA 10. A raw Ovechkin Young Guns, $1,122 with 46 sales over the last 90 days. And the last sale was $932 on the same date, April the 5th. So that's just crazy, crazy, crazy. I'm so happy for him. I'm kicking myself for not buying his Young Guns card prior to the season starting. But you just never know, and eventually I will have one, but I'm currently working on getting a Howe 51 Parkhurst, and I'm also trying to get a 79 Gretzky that I want for my collection. So I'm going to split my money up and buy those first, and then I'll start thinking about getting Ovechkin. And now we get to move into another Ovechkin segment, Chasing Greatness. He is no longer chasing the great one. He scored 5 goals this week. Last goal, April 6, 2025. And he is now at 895 career goals. And he is ahead of Wayne Gretzky by 1. So this will be a fun thing to do until he retires to see how far ahead he gets. So I hope he does play next year. I hope he does just go out and shoot the puck like crazy. His shooting percentage is the highest as it's ever been in his career this year. And he's already at 41 goals for the season. So I hope he does it again next year, puts up another 40 goals, and then puts that record out of reach, because then it'll just make seeing what happened that much more special for all of us. So not too much to talk about there, but just a little recap on that. And we're going to move into the last segment of the show this week, which is personal pickups. So like I've been saying, that I am collecting 600 goal scorers, and I did get a new one in the mail this week. And I thought it was only fitting that because Ovechkin scored his 895th goal, I got another capital, Mike Gardner. The picture in this isn't very great, but I can tell you the card is beautiful. It's a newer PSA slab. It got a PSA 5, and I mean, it is just a tad off-centered left to right. I'm a centering guy, and this was not enough to turn me off of the card. The card's in great shape, but with PSA grading the way they do, and really being much more strict than they used to be, I think this card maybe could have got a 7 or an 8 previously, but with their new grading standards and what they do, it ended up getting a 5. But I'm happy to own it because I purchased this card on March 30th, and I paid $20 for it. So I got a Mike Gardner rookie card, OPG, basically for $5, and the cost of a slab for $15. So I have no complaints. I'm slowly chipping away at this little set that I'm collecting. I talked about that last week, collecting sets. So I'm happy to add the Mike Gardner to my collection, and that's a wrap on personal pickups this week. So here we are at the end of the show, guys. I hope you enjoyed this new format and the way that I laid it out, and maybe it's a little bit better or more appealing to your eye. It's a lot easier than I thought it would be, and I'm going to keep trying to work out the kinks. The last thing I want to do is, I don't know if you noticed, but I reached out to my buddies over at Hockey Cards Gong Show this week. Got me a shirt. I'm disappearing. Got me a hat. Hockey Cards Gong Show hat. Super thankful for Josh and Louie and Phil and everybody over there at Hockey Cards Gong Show. If you're watching my stuff, you definitely should be watching theirs. So I'll be wearing my new Hockey Cards Gong Show swag for quite some time until I got to buy more, which I don't mind. The material is high quality. The hat is very nice, stitched patch on there. It's great stuff, and I'm so thankful to be a part of this community. Don't forget, feel free to reach out to me, guys. Give me some ideas. Maybe somebody wants to come on the show and talk hockey cards with me. I'd love that too. oldschoolcards24@gmail. Email is right there on the thing, but thank you for being a part of this community and supporting this show and this channel. I do it just out of pure passion. So let's connect, guys. Reach out. Talk to you soon. Until next time, guys, keep collecting what you love.